What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Cage Talk. Today, I have with me a UFC veteran, Phillipe Nover. How you doing, man? How's everything, buddy?
Everything is great. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Look, again, you have had a crazy career. Fighting the UFC, fighting in Bellator. Um, Expectations. I mean, Dana White was told me everyone told everyone, you're the guy, and I feel like that also played a big part. I mean, that's a lot of big shoes to fill. Being compared to like Anderson Silva, GSP, the big guys coming up, and before all that, man. How did you get into mixed martial arts? Was it something that you were passionate about, or was it something you just kind of, again, different era of fighting compared to
Yeah.
nowadays, right?
I would say I was into martial arts in general since I was younger. My parents enrolled me in more traditional martial arts. I did Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do. I even did weapons. I did Filipino arnis. I
Okay.
was just always involved in like martial arts as a sport. And then I remember just enjoying competition at age like, all the way from 10 years old, 11, 12. I used to do like point sparring tournaments,
Okay.
forms, things like that. So, and then I remember, even watching the UFC as a kid, and I was like, I would never do something like that. And then as years progressed, I had a training partner that was getting more into full contact fighting, so sort of like continuous sparring. It was originally point sparring, but then he did
Okay.
continuous sparring. He did kickboxing, and then he actually had his first MMA fight. And I helped him out, and we had sort of, I guess, what you call it, like a fight camp. And at the time, I was in my probably my like mid to late teens, and I was like just a crazy kid. So I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to fight. So shout out. That was Nardu Deborah who actually inspired some of my early fights, and we were good training partners. He's still very active in the sport too. So
Okay.
after he fought, we trained together, and then I just signed up back in, I think it was like 2002 or 2003. That was my first fight. Crazy.
Wow. Wow. So you jumped right in there. You didn't do any amateur fighting at all.
Yeah, actually, back in the OOs, there was really
Okay.
no differentiation
That's
between
crazy.
amateur and pro. I mean, typically you did have some background, so a lot of
Okay.
guys had like a grappling or a kickboxing or a boxing something,
Hmm.
something to do before, but there was no separation of amateur and pro. So
Gotcha.
I had like a traditional martial arts. I did grappling. I did like a couple of grapplers quest and nagas, and I that's that's pretty much the qualification to turn pro. There was no
That's it.
amateur or
Wow.
pro.
That's crazy. Times are different, man. Times
Wild.
are different, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Do you remember at all your first amateur? I mean, your first bout ever?
Um, I think I do. Yeah, let's see. Man, let's see. I think I fought I think this was my first fight. It was against a guy, man. It was in New Jersey against I fought at 185, believe it or not. So no one had
Oh.
an idea of cutting weight. So the training was like this: you meet up with your training partners. I literally like boxed once a week. I did like grappling and jujitsu once a week, and the rest of the week I just lifted weights. There was no concept to like how to train for a fight or anything,
That's
and
crazy.
yeah, that was crazy. I had, when I was younger, I just wanted to be big. That's all I cared about. I just wanted to be like as swole as possible. And
Uh,
I thought I was so cool at the time. This is 20 years ago. And I mean, we sparred, we trained, but it was like a lot of lifting and
mm,
less of technique as compared to now. It's complete opposite.
yeah.
Um, but I fought man, I forgot his nickname was the choir boy, I remember.
All right. So
Um, he
I have here. Just maybe Wikipedia did it right. I don't know, but I'm gonna throw a name at you. I'm gonna tell you the date and everything. Maybe this will help you. Ron Stallings. Yes.
Yes, Ronald Stallings.
There we
Yeah,
go. There you go. See, you know what? Wikipedia does it. It works.
That's it. The internet is great.
Back in the day, they didn't have this.
Yeah,
July 15th, 2003. Holy
there
shit.
it is.
Reality Fighting 4. You beat him. Good job.
Yeah, that was a wild fight. That was a he was it was pretty intimidating. I think, coming out of my first fight, I definitely am not a 185er, but I thought I was. So I would just eat as much as I can, lift and box. And here I go against a guy who's like at least 6 feet tall. He looks like he's filled in at 185. Um, and he walks out to the now remember he walks out to Mama's gonna knock you out was
Oh,
the
nice.
track.
Nice.
So that actually just made me angry. So, but I was lucky enough to guillotine him and put him out. Actually, he went unconscious. The referee was like a boxing referee who
So he
had
didn't
no
know what
idea
was
about chokes.
happening.
This is like way back. So, but he actually wound up having a good career too. He fought, I think, in UFC. I think Strike Force. Like the guy was a legit fighter for
Yeah,
wild times, man.
he did. I mean, you look at Wikipedia, it works out again. Strike Force, Titan FC, and then UFC. So yeah, look at that. That's why.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
why?
telling you, man. It's come a long way. So you probably didn't like talking about like the internet and having information. A lot of fighters that I've talked to that back in the day that would fight said, yeah, we pretty much didn't have any tape of our fighters. We worked out and then we just showed up. And I mean, it is what it is compared to nowadays where you have
Oh yeah,
you, like I said, I just
everything. Yeah, yeah, it's completely different. This technology definitely helped out. I mean, you could watch fights in slow motion. You could, like there's so many. There's like YouTube analysts who put out like all
yep.
these good fight stats, and like there's so much good information out there when you're coming in any topic, especially MMA. So, I love watching that stuff. So
Do you feel like you got obviously nowadays it's a little bit, I wouldn't say easier because obviously the sport's not easy at all, but just
yeah.
saying to easier as in preparing for a fighter compared to back in the day where you felt
Yeah.
like maybe it was a little bit harder just because of that. That's a
Yeah,
big
I'd say the only reason why could say quote unquote kind of easier, even though
okay,
obviously the skill level is far superior,
completely different.
but
Yeah,
I do think that what the fighters now can become smarter in how to approach a fight. You could really watch all the people that do it right and all the people that do it kind of the way you want to emulate, and you can really break down fights that way. You could look at statistical data. Actually, when I I'm involved. I help some fighters fight. I mean, train and stuff, and I'm a huge proponent of like what's the highest percentage. What's the risk reward ratio when you're doing this move? How many takedown attempts can you perform in a fight before you start like gassing?
yeah, see,
What is the highest percentage submission? So why waste time going for moves that won't work or things like that? And you can
mhm,
get that data now like just abundant on the internet. So I think that's great. If fighters nowadays really just become, everyone is tough. If you make it to the UFC, you're tough, but it's really how you stay there, being a smarter fighter, having a longer career, not getting brain damage. Like these things can add up and make you, fight for many more years and have healthier years ahead. So,
definitely,
you know,
and especially that longevity is what's very important to have. Like I said, an interview conversation with me, just kind of keep up and not slurring words and stuff like that.
oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
let talk about your career, man. Your career, it's had its up, it's had its downs, but I mean to say that you went into the UFC, you left, and then you came back. A lot of people don't come back from the UFC, man. Let me tell you, like that just shows you already the level, your just your level of fighting, how much respect Dana White had for you, just it's just in general as an organization to come back. And the first run, how did that run compared to the second run, and then obviously we'll talk about the
Sure.
whole fighter, but but
Yeah, I'd say the first run I was definitely younger.
mhm,
I don't think as skilled. I fought, after the Ultimate Fighter, I got it. I got a contract regardless of losing at the finals. But it was I felt a lot of pressure in that run. And I also had some injuries at the time, in 2009, 2010, even though I continued fighting.
Mhm.
I did have neck surgery in 2010, which kind of threw me off. And after the UFC let me go, I kind of I got the surgery, and I even took a hiatus and then decided to continue training, continue fighting. I thought I was young and hungry still. The second run in the UFC was a little more recent. I think that what really inspired me to keep fighting and try to get back in the UFC was the fact that they were becoming more of a worldwide organization, and they were going to fight in Asia, and they were going to host a fight in Manila. And I'm a Filipino American, so I was very inspired to try to get on that card. And and that was just one of the biggest highlights, I think, in my life as a fighter. Being able to fight in Manila. And I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, but my mom's Filipino, and I go to the Philippines since I was a kid. I go every summer, and
Okay.
when the opportunity came forward, and I was able to fight there, I thought, I was like, this is amazing, amazing experience. And I fought a few good fights after that, some tough guys. I mean, I didn't. I don't think I was one of those fighters that was sort of like willing to like bite down the mouthpiece and sit in the pocket and sort of
Mhm.
trade.
Sweet.
I think that was one of my. I think that was one of my negatives as far as the fighting career, but maybe a positive. So I have something else, beyond fighting. But I definitely, in sparring and training, I really, I felt good. But as soon as the fight started, I really, man, those 4 ounce gloves, and you got like,
It's
Henan
different.
Barrow trying to rip your face off. You're like, man, maybe I should just stick and move a little bit. I'll lose a few points and try to live the next day. I mean, I feel like when I watched the last few fights of my career, I think I was a little just gun shy, sitting in the pocket, letting go of more power shots. Because when you let go of a power shot, necessarily, you are susceptible to getting countered. So I think I was a little gun shy. I lost some close decisions. But
Mhm.
and then overall, my last fight in 2017, I fought in Brooklyn, New York, the first ever Brooklyn card. And I was like, you know what? I'm a Brooklyn native. I
Mhm.
thought I fought hard. Judges kind of split decision. There was some websites that gave me the fight. I fought a very tough Rick Glenn,
Yeah.
who is still active, and he's a straight killer. So he's like a zombie, man. You hit him, and he just keeps coming forward. So, I thought it was a good fight, and I thought it was time to hang it up and move on to other things in my life. So
Well, you know what? I don't think when you were talking about, biting down your mouthpiece and just kind of swinging for the fences. I mean, again, I think you're just being alert of the consequences. I think younger you. I mean, we're all like, when we get younger, you probably bite down on that mouthpiece and
yeah,
take a couple more shots. But I think you realize that, like, hey, it's not only this. This is not the only thing left of me. It's after my career. After, there's gonna be something else. And I mean, that's
yeah,
just. I mean, this is being smart about it. I mean, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
It probably, the fans probably didn't like it, but again, at the end of the day, you got to deal with your consequences and stuff, like. So
yeah,
I don't think, like I said, I don't think there's ever been a fight that I've watched of you that's been boring, or I'm like, oh, I'm gonna change it. I mean, it's they've been
yeah.
exciting, so I don't think
Cool.
you'd ever, hang your head down, man. It's been awesome.
Thanks.
So
Thanks, man.
yeah, no problem, man. Was there pressure fighting? You say your parents are Filipino and stuff. Going over there, did you feel like a little bit more like, damn, now I kind of have to show up and show out just cuz, or is it almost like that mentality where it's like, hey, it's another fight, just take it like that? How did that
I,
preparation stuff go, man?
Yeah, I would say Manila. I mean, every fight is pressure, and then there's
Yeah.
obviously different elements. But I feel like the last, 4 or 5 fights, I didn't feel the anxiety like I did when I was younger in my 20s. I thought, I felt good. I really, in my last fight, I really felt good. I mean, it's been years, but I really felt good in Manila. I felt amazing. It was just coming out. I counted with the walkout. Like I usually remember my walkout, how anxious I feel, and
Okay.
I just remember feeling great. I just remember feeling like, man, this is it. This is so exciting for me, you
Hmm.
know?
I mean, fighting there, and then I mean, you got some balls, man. I'm just gonna say it right now. I mean, you fought Randall Barral in Brazil. Like that's what Brazil is hostile already. And then to fight like a native, like a legend. That's
Yeah.
that's wild, man. And again, was it that you kind of took it like kind of short notice too, right? Was that a fight?
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
just like fuck it, like
Yeah, you know what? When that fight, when they told me about that fight, I was a little nervous actually with with the proposition. When the UFC calls, it's like, you just got to say yes. There's no excuse. So
okay,
I was like, you know what? This is my opportunity. I know they're trying to send me out there, like, like this is the guy that's gonna, I'm just gonna be a quick stepping stone and he's gonna
yeah,
crush me. So I went out there kind of with the attitude of nothing to lose, and let me just go out there and really just push myself and get out there. And I was expected. I mean, the fans thought I was going to all get knocked out. Like
mm,
actually, when I walked out, I remember the Brazilians were saying like something like "You're going to die," like "Viva morrer" or something like that, and I just screaming, "Ah, you're going to die" in Portuguese. But
jeez.
I fed into that. I loved it, man. I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. So, it was I remember the first round, I was like, this guy's not that bad. I can hang, I can hang.
Mhm.
It was a close fight. He beat me strategically, I think, on the feet. I felt like I was getting the best of him, but he scored a good takedown at the end of the second and third round. It was a good strategy and held me.
Mhm.
So but shout outs to him. He was a veteran in it, and his corner and everybody saw that on the feet. It was kind of a debatable exchange. So
Mhm.
he landed like a takedown at the end of the second and the end of the third, just the 30 seconds that'll sway the judges. But
Yeah.
it was a good exchange. I felt like on that fight I was throwing, man. I was like, let me freaking hurt this guy.
That
You know?
like I said, that's not a easy. That's not just a random fighter that's just thrown at you, especially on short notice. Now,
Yeah.
when you said when you get the call from like UFC, like who's the one who calls you? Like, is it? And obviously, it's not. Is it like the matchmaker at the time that they give you a call? Like, hey,
Well,
this is it.
it's you for my last fights. It's
Uh,
all my manager. Ali was my
okay.
manager, so Ali was
Okay.
like, "Yeah, he's like, brother, I got you. We're gonna fight Henan Barrow." I'm like, "Okay, what do you think?" I think that was a good matchup for me though because I was coming off. I forgot if I fought Zubaira and then they didn't. I can't remember which one it was, but I definitely one of
Yeah,
my performances I
it was
over wrestled.
Zubaira. It was
Yeah, so
decision, the split
yeah,
decision.
so they kind of saw me lose to Zubaira. I think they were like, you know what? Let's just sacrifice him to a Brazilian.
Now,
So
how was your your relationship with Dana White? Did you talk to him a lot throughout your career? Or was it just high and by? How was that?
I would say, when I first did the Ultimate Fighter and I was on the show, and then right after the show, he was. I mean, he's always been a big supporter. I think of my
Mhm.
career, especially coming off the Ultimate Fighter. I had a lot of high expectations.
Yep.
But he's always been, I think he's always been kind of supporting. And, if I see him right now, he'd be like, hey, what's up? Like, hope all is well and this and that. But, what the UFC is corporate, man. So a lot of people are saying, like, oh, if you go into an organization that's pretty much like a corporate organization that's pretty much just there for profit, and they see what you are as an
Mhm.
athlete, but they see your potential money that you can produce for the company.
Yeah.
So I mean, but if you go in there with other expectations, then you're going to be let down. So,
Yeah.
I was there, I fought. I was able to achieve like some of my dreams fighting for the organization and fighting around the world. Financially, it probably wasn't the smartest, moves. I think I didn't like I think that I probably could have made more money or had more success elsewhere. Um, but at the same time, like this is what they offered. This is how our contracts went,
Mhm.
and Dana White, he's always cool with me. He gave me a shout out. I remember when COVID was at its height.
Mhm.
He gave me a shout out because a lot of the sports organizations were interviewing me about being a COVID nurse frontliner. So
Mhm.
gave me a cool shout out for that. So you know, this is UFC is a corporation, and people
It
fighters
truly
got to
is.
accept it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely 100. Let's talk a little bit about the Ultimate Fighter. Again, it was Team Mir and Big
Nog,
Fighter, right?
yeah, big Nog,
Big Nog. It was Big Nog.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
How was that? How was the whole facility? Because again, I've talked to people that were on Ultimate Fighter season one, and I talked to people that are in two. So I've gotten kind of a glimpse of every single like fighter's like season and what you
Yeah.
think of it. I want to hear your let's share because I don't think I've had anyone from what season. I don't
I
even
was season eight,
season eight, right?
top
Yeah,
eight.
I don't think I've
Yeah.
had. That's a good thing because I had Chris Lieben on, and he told me a good. And then yeah, so I had some good stories. So let's hear yours take. Did you enjoy the experience there? Would you? Let's hear it.
Oh man, I would say, when I got there, I was
Mm,
like super young and hungry and focused. I was so focused, man. I was so driven. But it was a crazy experience. It's literally, a frat house of guys who can pretty much get whatever they want when it comes to like food and
mhm,
alcohol. Um, just like a bunch of knucklehead testosterone out dudes in a house, with cameras. So, but everything that happened on the season was 100% real. There
okay.
was like, there was no like incentive or producer or someone coming and
Hmm.
trying to push us to do things.
Okay.
They pretty much, the interview process alone of getting people on the show, I think they knew that this was just going to be an explosion. Something's going to happen. So there was a lot of pranks that happened on that show. Uh, like I remember just pranking each other's food. It was just terrible. Because when people order you, if you pretty much can get any food you want
Hmm.
within reason, as long as it's sort of grocery store bought food. So whatever you want, you write it down on a piece of paper, they deliver it to you.
Okay.
So, like if our team, the red team, wanted stuff, we were actually a close knit team, even
Hmm.
though some of us fought each other at the end. But
Hmm.
like I feel like our team was like, because you wanted to have a little bit of sort of like what you have at home. So you wanted to kind of cook and like
Just do your.
share the food together. That's like a big opportunity. You don't get to do that. You're away from your family, so we actually did a lot of cooking. I remember Kyle was a cook, and Jules Bruchet was a cook. Like, and I learned how to cook. Efren Escudero, he knew how to cook. We made ceviche. I made Filipino food. It was just like we were chefs.
Yeah.
And then I remember someone messing with my sushi, like eating my sushi one time. Like actually a number of times, the
Hmm.
other team would just take bits and pieces out of my sushi, and then finally there was an episode where one of the fighters got caught eating my sushi, and we set it up. I think Kyle Kingsbury like whacked off on the sushi. 1 second, I'm sorry. I gotta take this thing off of my phone. Sorry.
That's fine, bro.
Yeah, so there was that crazy crazy time where they were pranking each other. So there was another fighter, David Kaplan, ate my sushi that was tainted with semen. That
Oh,
was all
wow.
real. Um, and then there was another time where we were stealing fruit bowls after training.
Hmm.
The other team, I mean, well, the other team pretty much set it up. We would just eat these random fruit bowls, and Ryan Bader went to go into the fridge to get the other team's fruit bowl. We brought it into the room. Apparently, the entire like blue team all urinated in the fruit bowl, like just like a bowl full of like five guys' urine.
Was it like a circle? Did they all do it together? Did they take
Yes,
turns?
I
Like
think it
what?
was like I don't know. It was really bad. And then I wound it was in the fridge and it was so cold that you couldn't even tell it was full of piss. So I
Oh
wound up eating
no.
like watermelon and all this
Oh,
other. It was so disgusting. I mean, I didn't even know.
oh
Um,
God.
Yeah, I tried to gag myself on TV. It was bad,
I
but
now I gotta rewatch that season. That's funny. That
yeah,
I mean,
that was terrible.
oh, now who's your coach again? It was
So it was a Big Nog.
okay.
So, but it was an all-star cast, man. The other coach was Frank Mir. On the show, we had Anderson Silva come visit us. I mean, we had Leota Machida come visit us. It was amazing. My head was I was in the show. My head was exploding. I was like, "Holy shit! I'm getting trained by Anderson Silva." It's
Oh,
nuts, man.
that's
Nuts.
cool. That's cool. So that experience itself, I mean, you were to the finalists, right? You were down to the
Yeah, I tell you, I was super focused on the show.
mm,
Um, I remember when I got selected, I remember like I fought to get in the house. Like I fought a really tough guy, Joe Duarte. I passed out when I was getting selected. I remember I fainted because of the weight cut and the anxiety, and I wound up fainting when they announced that I was going to fight this guy, Joe Duarte.
I don't know that.
Um,
That I do remember.
yeah, yeah, like that was a tough one because so I fainted the whole before they had us announce the fights. Joe Duarte was there and he was just talking about himself,
Hmm.
like how fucking badass. He was like, "My name's Joe Duarte. I jump out of planes. I kill motherfuckers." He's like, "I'm like," he's like, and then there's no internet. He's like, "I'm 40 and 0, 40 knockouts, K1 kickboxer." I was like,
Uh,
"Holy shit!" He's like, "I've been to war."
oh
Yo,
my
I don't even know who this guy is. I can't Google him. We have no internet.
God.
So, and then what happens? Dana White's like, Joe Duarte, Phillipe Nover. And I'm like, fuck, I got to fight this guy. He's going to fucking murder me.
That's
So,
awesome.
oh my
That's
God. So
awesome.
I wound up fucking beating the living shit out of the guy, though. After that, I was so focused.
Mhm.
I remember like elbowing his face, broke his orbitals, I think, and then get in the house. So focused on the show, though. Like, I didn't drink any alcohol. I wanted to promote the martial art lifestyle. I wanted to
Yeah.
like really, I was taking notes on my opponents, my training partners. I was like really, really focused. And that's how I made it to the finals, I think.
Nice.
And I fought Efren Escudero in the finals.
That's awesome, man. That's again, you gotta look back at now. Like I said, I'm gonna definitely check out that whole season because now you can like binge watch them like easily. Like again, internet and the time we're living in.
Yeah.
What do you do now? You said you're a nurse,
Yeah, so
right?
believe it or not, I'm a registered nurse.
Ooh,
I actually am an advanced practice nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner. That's
yeah.
something I did as soon as I retired. I went back,
Mhm.
got my master's degree, um, and I additionally I work for a university. I actually teach nursing school too. So
Awesome, man.
yeah, I'm a clinical
Cool.
adjunct professor for one of the major New York City colleges. So
Nice. I mean, hey, I think you've done pretty good. Again, it's always the question mark after is like, what do you do after fighting? Because a lot of fighters kind of get lost in that because they don't know what to do because all they think about is fighting. So, and that's even better than a fighter, to be honest with you. I mean,
thanks, man.
that's good.
It's a long journey. I think and I do enjoy what I do. Helping people and continue to help people and work in cardiology and stuff. So yeah, it's a good time. Who's that little guy?
That's my son, of course. Every time he hears like there's an interview or something, he because I'm in the garage, he's like,
That's awesome, man. That's
yeah, man.
awesome.
I got two of them. That's the ham, man. He loves being on. Like, he'll pretend like he jumped in the back, but now he's pretending like he's not there.
that was
It always
that's
happens.
that's
I'm
awesome,
like I
man.
was just waiting for it. I'm like, man, yeah. I was like, man, he hasn't heard from me. He's probably like in the house wondering where it is. But
That's awesome,
I
man.
want to say, man, congratulations on, like I said, much respect for you for the career you've had. Say hi,
Thank
Ian.
you.
You're gonna be there. Say hi. I was like, um, I mean, it's been awesome. I'm glad that you, like I said, you're doing well and you're doing
Thank
something
you.
after your career and you're loving it. So, and you're helping people out. That's most important.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
But I want
Absolutely.
again, thank you so much. Thank you for your time and sharing some stories. I do appreciate it, man. All right.
Awesome, man. No, I appreciate you reaching out, man.
course, bro. Of course, man. Like I said, you're still one of the good greats, man, out there in the Ultimate Fighter, still doing it. So thank you so
Hell
much.
yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Alex.
have a good one, bro.